Hello and welcome to AMM Conversation, official podcast of the Association of Medical Media. I'm your host, Jason Carris. Before we begin this final episode of Season 3 of the podcast, please make sure to follow, rate, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. We appreciate the support. In this episode, we'll continue our exploration of the medical media landscape as we head into 2021 with industry veterans from Frontline Medical Communications. My guests today are Mike Guire, Frontline's Vice President of Sales. Mike has more than 25 years of experience in the publishing industry. Prior to joining Frontline in 2016, Mike enjoyed sales leadership roles at Elsevier, Wolters Kluwer and Skyscape. He's a former president of the Association of Medical Media. Also joining me is Tracey Sears, publisher of Clinical Endocrinology News and Clinical Psychiatry News. She too has more than 25 years experience in HCP promotion, including advertising sales at the American Medical Association and media planning and buying at Ogilvy, KPR and Klemptner Advertising. And finally, Devin Gregorie, National Sales Manager for MD Edge Hematology Oncology. Devin's the Director of Sponsorships for Medscape Live with a focus on oncology and hematology. Devin's got more than 15 years experience in both medical marketing media and live medical conferences. Welcome to the show today. Mike, the pandemic is really no closer to being completed. While the vaccine news is wonderful, it's not an immediate fix and hard times still lie ahead. Could you just start us off with the, sort of state of the industry, both from a 30,000-foot view and how Frontline's doing?
If you list all the things that 2020 has put upon us, I think anyone would foresee that it would have been a very trying and troubling year, which it was in a lot of ways. I would say that it was definitely very different. I think one of the things that we found, because not only do you have the pandemic, you have an election year, and election years are always very tricky when it comes to medical marketing. In some ways, the pandemic might have offset the election year to some degree. The pandemic created an environment of which all pharma marketers were looking at different ways to reach physicians rather than the traditional ways they would have through their sales force. So it created a lot of opportunities for us, quite frankly, in the medical communication side of things. So while we had certainly challenges on, we do a lot of live events within our organization, and that was challenged. But we, having all of the vehicles that we do through digital, through print, through video, through audio, we were able to reach physicians and HCPs in the environments that they were looking for content. I mean, HCPs were engaging content in our environment at greater quantities than they had previously. So, and that makes sense. They're looking for trusted partners, trusted places they can get content. And so in some ways, the pandemic and everything that went on created a greater need for the information that we provide. While I will say it was definitely different and definitely trying, there were, and some marketers decided to do different things. Some decided to pull back, while others decided to ramp up. And quite frankly, I don't know if there was a wrong decision in any of those, but at the end of the day, it ended up being, I think we ended up in a very good position.
Can you explain the biggest adjustments you've had to make this year and the changes that are carrying over into 2021 and beyond?
Well, basically, I think when you're saying a lot of the marketers are looking to target, sometimes they're looking to target by the HCP, but they're also looking to target their message as well with some of their assets. But really the adjustments, what we're doing is, I don't think we've really missed a beat with Frontline and MD Edge, because a lot of our content does come from live meetings and events. We were still able to provide all of that content to the HCPs, virtually. So we're continuing to be, as Mike said, a trusted source for the HCP, and also MD Edge, we go across multiple specialties. So I think that's another reason why marketers are looking to us, multiple HCPs in their target list with MD Edge, as well as all of the specialties that we cover. We have a lot of contextually targeted programs that we can do.
As you look towards programs and the conversations you're having with clients for 2021, What are their challenges, but also what's working best for them right now?
I feel like I'm seeing a lot more targeting. And I also mentioned about the message segment. That's another thing. They want to run different messages to different parts of their audience.
Hey, Devin, what's different about marketing plans and media planning for 2021?
Hi, Jason. Thanks for including me on this podcast. I will say, while the old school meat potato buys, E&Ls and on-site contextual placements, those will be, have been and always will be around. We definitely saw a shift in ask from our clients, whether it be RFPs or virtual meetings, for a more in-depth, immersive experience regarding advertising. So, for example, we're doing a lot more MDIQs, our gamification quiz series than we have in years past. And shameless plug, we're launching a challenge center on the ed side that we're getting a lot of interest on. Again, mainly because we're hearing that the drug reps aren't getting in to see HCPs anytime soon, and we're getting more requests for kind of that deeper engagement, immersive time spent with brand. And again, the old school meat potato buys are always going to be there, but for sure a spike in a more immersive HCP engagement experience.
I agree.
Yeah, and Mike, and print advertising has had its struggles as over the years. Frontline remains committed to a print publication portfolio. Can you provide a forecast for 2021?
It's funny. I think if we went back about 5 years, we'd probably talk about print and digital and live events. And really, the way that we're approaching it today is they all have their part in the way that we're reaching out to the HCPs, and they could be different touch points for different HCPs or just different touch points for the same HCP. So the print remains a focus and a very important part of what we do. We've shifted a little bit in how we approach print. I'd say, maybe 5 years ago, we were a print first type of organization, and now we're certainly a digital first type of organization. And what that means, that doesn't mean anything's more prioritized or but what we do is we think of how the digital experience will be and how to deliver. A lot of our content is news based, so you have to be digital first. It's not only daily, it's hourly, it's within the hour. So that's how we're creating an environment, and then our print publications take shape from how we're doing our daily updates through our digital platforms. And it's still everyone knows that anyone that's familiar with the syndicated data that's in our field knows that HCPs still interact with all of these different types of formats: print, live events, video, digital, all over the board. So it's important to have, and that's really how we differentiate ourselves, not only from the marketplace, where we like to be able to work across platforms and across media, but also with the HCPs. We can create a message that's consistent across, whether they're at one of our live events or meetings. That goes into print, where we follow up with the coverage from print, where we do a recap with a video reporter from a conference and such. So they're all very important. I think one of the things that's been, I would say, a stress point on print has just been the fact that it's not trackable. In today's day and age, where everyone wants to have immediate metrics on what happens when someone sees something, print doesn't provide that opportunity. It tends to, you can't plug in your print result into a spreadsheet like as easily as you can when you see, an opened email or a impression-based buy or something like that. So I'd say we are committed, but they all work together.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because you just explained, HCP marketing has to be multi-channel, but 3.5 years ago, that was still multi-channel in terms of majority print, and then we have a bunch of other digital products, right? Now it's more of a basket full of, and everything has more of an equal weight in the basket, right?
Yeah, and we're the important thing is figuring out how everything works together. And it's not, we're not treating them as separately, as probably the industry did, like you said, 5 or 10 years ago. We're trying to figure out the mesh points and the best way to make sure that the HCP feels comfortable getting that information across all the different platforms. As we fine tune that, it creates a better marketing environment for all of our partners.
Dev, I've heard that, the pandemic sparked a spike in email and website engagement. I actually saw and did a fact sheet with DMD that showed, emails went off the chart. Email engagement was off the chart in April, May, June, started to fade a little bit. Question, did, Frontline realize such a spike? Has it continued, fallen off, hit a plateau? What's the expectation for digital engagement moving forward in 21?
So we, on the oncology hematology side of things, we're typically cyclical in and around the major conferences, ASCO, San Antonio, ASH. So, we usually do see a peak in the valley here and there, but ever since, post St. Patrick's Day, when COVID really, really took its grips on the country here, we saw a spike, and it's kind of stayed up. On the oncology hematology side of things, we were seeing an increase on physicians obviously coming for their regular news, but we were printing as well as publishing, as well as many other MDH titles, COVID stories. We for sure saw it in the fact that, some HCPs are not in the office every day, maybe more time to engage, but we also think a contributing factor is they're coming to our sites to a particular disease state, whether it be oncology, hematology, rheumatology, dermatology. So yeah, we've seen a spike, and from what I'm seeing, I'm thinking it's going to continue into next year.
Trace, Endo, Clin Psych?
Same thing that Devin had just said. We're seeing a lot of spike around the major meetings because, again, they were virtual. So we were providing that information to them. So we did see a lot more engagements with our emails.
What about for 2021? You expect it to continue? Are you forecasting it to continue, that high level of digital engagement, or is it going to potentially fall off as specialists start to get back into the offices and have less time on their hands?
I think it's going to continue into 2021. We're providing the information to the HCP in all different forms. We're reaching them, giving them the content in the format that they want. So if it continues to be digital, then that's what it'll be.
We'll be right back after a word from the Association of Medical Media.
Hi, I'm Todd Von Dijk, Executive Director of the Association of Medical Media, and we're thrilled that you've taken some time today to listen to this episode of our podcast series. For more information about our organization, please go online and visit www.ammonline.org. There you'll find a host of different resources and materials and tools that you can use. It's all part of our commitment to the medical media industry, and if you're inclined, we'd love to have you as a member. You can always reach out for ideas for new podcast series, or to let us know you'd like to become more involved by an email to help@ammonline.org. Thanks again, and we'll get you back to this interview.
We're back with our friends from Frontline Medical Communications. Let's continue the conversation. I've had a couple questions on different, roundtables. How are we going to compare 2020 to 2021? Have you guys had any of those conversations, Mike?
Not specifically. I don't know that it'll be interesting. That's a great question, and it's going to be. I don't even know. Trying to forecast what that's going to look like it'll be a lot of grasping at straws to some degree. I almost think that for every brand that may have pulled back a little bit, or launch brands that may have delayed the marketing for their launches because they didn't want to launch during a pandemic, or they have a product that isn't conducive, that's really relying on the patients getting to see the doctor. For every one of those that we encountered, it almost seemed to be offset by another brand that was taking the approach that since their sales team can't get in to see the doctors, since there is no more personal sales interaction with the HCPs, that they're reinvesting and putting funds towards reaching HCPs in a non-personal way. So it seems very much on the surface like it could almost be they could neutralize each other in a way. At the end of the day, it's all going to come out in the wash, and we'll see exactly how that plays out. But I don't know that I'm going to see any large dip or spike, quite frankly, for 2021 versus.
Frontline was acquired by WebMD about 18 months ago. I'm sure there have been changes and improvements to your analytics capabilities, and Without going into the weeds, Mike, how are you guys using data and analytics to fuel decisions and help your clients adapt to the ever evolving world of digital marketing?
That's a great question. Working together with the Medscape folks and the WebMD folks, I think what a lot of that has been on the back end, and it really helps our ability to cater messaging to HCPs, right? So when we were just Frontline, you had a data set that was fixed. Now the data set that we have to pull from and learn from behavior and learn from usage patterns, 5 times what it was. So having more data and data points at our fingertips is, it's going to really help us fine tune what we're delivering to HCPs, when we're delivering to HCPs, how we're delivering to HCPs. Everything that we've done, everything's focused on the edge and the print publications, but in the back end, having these learnings and having this direction that's helped being guided on a larger platform of just having that large data set has been great, quite frankly. It really puts us in an excellent position to further deliver quality content to HCPs in the way they want to see it.
Tracey, has it been a benefit to you and your programs?
Yes, and we are seeing that a lot of our clients do want more information. They don't want just the impressions served and the clicks and opens. Now, as Mike said, they are asking for more engagement data. And what are they doing once they click, and where are they going, and are they going to their site, and are they doing anything once they get there? So it is nice to have that additional information, and again, the clients are asking for this information, and they want it more often as well. They just don't want it once a month anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking exactly. I was talking to RJ Lewis and Amy Turnquist for a podcast episode, and RJ's like, what used to be monthly is now weekly. He's like, I'm sure that very soon it will be, they want it real time. They're going to want a dashboard that's going to be real time. Have any of those conversations or nightmare scenarios been explored?
Yes, I was going to say I'm sorry, but we do have some clients who are asking us for data on a daily basis. And, as Mike said, we're working with WebMD to enhance our reporting.
I completely agree. Monthly is passé. It's now weekly. Yeah, I think within the next year or two, hourly, minutely, it's just going to keep ramping up.
The flip side of that is it's an opportunity. That's a service that you're providing.
From a resource standpoint, it is it's something that things would have to be reallocated, invested in, and such. So it is a lot of work. And I think that's something that sometimes can go unnoticed, right? It's not like we can flip a switch and we were just waiting every month to report on data trends. It is something that we are looking at for solutions across our network. So and I think that also helps. There's efficiencies to be had in scale, and we certainly have the scale. And it's just a matter of figuring out, because it's not a one size fits all either. Everyone has different needs and requirements. So it's finding the common thread, finding what we can do, finding what we can provide.
There's another opportunity that's been floating around that isn't talked about so much, and it's that cookieless future, and the third-party cookie is going away. Google Chrome has made a commitment by the end of next year. A lot of enterprising marketers see this as an opportunity to put the value back on first-party data. Where are you guys now, and are you ready to take on that challenge of relying on your first-party data?
We were in a great spot for that. And again, this is another major advantage to the larger scope of the organization now. We're pretty nimble when it comes to making adjustments with regard to any sort of digital trends. I think we're in a much better spot than we were a year and a half ago. Let's put it that way. And I think we're well positioned to move with whatever direction this particular movement goes. But like you said, it's looking like we're going cookieless. So we're pretty well positioned in that regard.
I know some association meetings are going to be returning late Q2. I've heard ASCO is going to be a go, and some others might be a go, like late May, June, or at least they're hoping to. Fall is probably a little bit more realistic, but I've spoken to a number of medical societies who are completely punting, completely foregoing 2021 for in-person meetings, or their large meetings are going to be punted, and maybe they'll try some smaller scale meetings. Dev, I know we do a lot of programs. You do a lot of programs and in person. What's the impact of in-person meetings potentially returning and in 2021?
Yeah, so great segue for me. So I'm actually on the Medscape Live business unit as well, with business development on some live in-person proprietary conferences in the hematology space. As a business unit, Medscape Live is operating as, we're virtual Q1 to Q3 and cautiously optimistic with a potential hybrid model starting in Q4. Me personally, I don't see a mass gathering conference like an ASCO or a San Antonio Breast taking place anytime before August of next year. But it's been a challenge. We've had to pivot, and we had trials and tribulations on virtual platforms, and the first month in 2020 of this meeting's not happening. At first you try to push everything down the road. March, April meeting, we moved down to October in hopes we'd have it figured out. But the first month I think was a scramble. Once we got our bearings and find out which platform is the best for HCP engagement and flowing and easeability of use, we kind of figured it out. But I really truly believe that the mass conferences of 15,000 plus, I don't see those happening at all in 2021. Cautiously optimistic for the regional meeting, 150, 300, 400 attendance in Q4. But anything before that, I think, is extremely ambitious.
Tracey, what about your markets?
Well, right now in the endo market is the big endo meeting in March is already planning to be virtual. And I don't think they've made, and I'm also in the psychiatry market, I don't think they've made a decision yet. That's usually around May. I think they're still planning on in person, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the flip side to that is, I've heard that while, it's lovely to be able to go and see clients, clients actually have been more willing to jump on a regular Zoom call. Have you guys seen greater access during the pandemic with your clients?
Absolutely, for sure. Much easier to get a Zoom call. And I've had a lot of Zoom calls, typically at a face-to-face meeting with presenting to a media team, you're looking at a 10 a.m. to a 2 p.m. During the pandemic, I've had numerous, 8:45 a.m. starts, 9 a.m.s, 5:15 telecons. The commuting factor is just non-existent, which helps. So yeah, for me, it was easier, to be honest, to get the virtual FaceTime with the clients.
Tracey, on the AMM roundtable panel last month with Jim Delash of GSK and Lori Hancock of Merck, they said, new and social media have been around. Pharma just hasn't found a reason to invest heavily in them. It is on their radar, but publishers need to provide a watertight case for their usage, and campaigns must produce tangible results. That said, the pandemic has accelerated their usage. What are you and your colleagues seeing when it comes to new medias and innovative programs as we look to 2021?
Jason, right now, Frontline MD Edge, we're using social media really for our own promotion and communication with the HCP. So we're letting them know. We're letting them know about our content and any of our programs that we're doing via social media. So we're not really looking for pharma to promote right now at this point.
Any update on the podcast programs?
Well, initially, I think we were a little ahead of our time when we were working on podcasts in multiple specialties. Right now, what we've decided to do is focus on 3 specialties. We're in the psychiatry, the hematology, oncology market, as well as dermatology. All 3 of them are doing very well. We now are seeing more of the pharma companies looking to sponsor, with audio, an audio message. A lot of them didn't even have an assets to promote on these podcasts. So I think this is something that we're seeing now for 2021, a lot more interest.
What's the one thing you're looking forward to most for 2021 when it comes to HCP marketing? Let's start with you, Trace.
We've been focusing a lot on programs that are more engaged with the HCPs. As we've been talking a lot about that today, and Devin mentioned about our new challenge center, so that's something that we're looking forward to launching, looking for business to get back to some sort of normal. I personally, becoming an expert now with these Zoom calls, I actually do like the in-person meetings. I feel like they're more engaging. It's hard to read a room on a Zoom call. So that's what I'm looking forward to is going back to seeing my clients in person.
To piggyback off that, I never thought I'd say this, but I can't wait to get back on the train down to Philly and into Manhattan on the old Long Island Railroad, and just be out and having that social aspect of our industry back. While I was happy before about the whole accessibility on Zoom, I'm going stir crazy. My wife and kids want me out of the house. I definitely need to get back to the schmoozing aspect, for lack of a better term, personal industry. Yep. And I am for sure, hopefully we can sometime in 2021 kind of get back to the lunch and learns, 20 people in a room, and really diving into the art of presentation and captivating your audience in the conference room, and that feeling of walking out of a great presentation. I definitely miss all that, and that's what I'm looking forward most, hopefully.
Yeah, there's it's interesting you say that feeling, the microaggressions that you can only get when you're standing 3 feet from somebody, which we're not allowed to do, let alone, right? Those, that person, the eye contact, they get it, right? They understand what I'm trying to, what I'm trying to say. Mike, what are you most looking forward to for 2021?
I do think if there's one positive that came of it, everyone's skill set with Zoom calls and Teams and Google Meet and everything like that is certainly fine-tuned now. So that's one thing we can take forward. But like anything else, like getting out there and in front of the customers is very important. Heck, just getting together as a group internally, as a team, to brainstorm and such, and have a in-person team meeting where we can all share experiences and learn from different things. That'll be a nice nuance too, to get back to that. And Tracy and Devin both alluded to it. We have some exciting programs that have been developed during the pandemic with a sheer focus on HCP engagement and interaction. So, we're in the throes of rolling them out. Some have been rolled out, and the early indications are they've been doing amazingly well. So that's also exciting to see some new products come out. Just the success that they're experiencing right off the bat. Looking forward to 2021. I can't wait to see what our editorial team comes up with as far as what they think the next great product is to roll out to the HCP. So all of that is hopefully 2021 can only go up.
That's all for this episode of AMM Conversation. Thanks for listening. This episode concludes Season 3 of the podcast. Keep an eye out this spring for Season 4 of AMM Conversation, where we'll be exploring the effective strategies for engaging HCPs via social and multimedia. AMM Conversation is the official podcast of the Association of Medical Media. Make sure to listen to each and every episode of AMM Conversation on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy your podcast. Kindly leave us a comment, subscribe, follow, or share this podcast. We appreciate the support. And make sure to check out the AMM website, www.ammonline.org, for the latest information and resources on medical media. In addition to fact sheets, industry research, and special reports, you can watch my monthly healthcare policy series featuring Beltway insider John Bigelow, or the new YouTube series, John Loughran Viewed Your Profile, all available on AMM's new YouTube channel. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the guests and not necessarily to the host or AMM or any other group or individual.